I'm Hara Allison, and this is Dream Anyway, a podcast for those of us who feel the pull to create, even when the path isn't clear. So wherever you are in your journey, grab a coffee, get comfy, and dream anyway.
My name is Stephaine Courtney, and my name is spelled Stephaine. Last name Courtney, Courtney. And I am the executive director at the Shades of Motherhood Network located in Spokane, Washington.
I know why you spelled your name. Are you upset about that spelling?
You know what's so funny? So my mom is Native American and Black. They're from Dallas, Texas. Her name is Stephanie, but it's actually pronounced Stephaine, and no one asked anybody why the name is Stephaine, but we go by Stephanie. So it's just like this funny, I don't know, like rich, connecting, I don't even know how to say it, word in our family that has so much presence and boldness. And I'm like, why is the name spelled like that? Mom was like, girl, I do not know. I was like, we don't ask our parents those kind of questions. So I'm like, I need you to ask next time.
Tell me about the Shades of Motherhood Network.
So the Shades of Motherhood Network is my rampage. I was dealing with infertility for over 7 years, had 2 miscarriages, and just really felt lost. Like I didn't know what to do, where to go. I had never met another Black person that was dealing with infertility. Mm-hmm. And so, I was just chopping it up to, am I being punished? Did I do something wrong? Does God or a higher power not want me to have children? Like I'm going through all the things, right? And it's not until my niece, who was 15 at the time, got pregnant. And I was like, it cannot be that easy to get pregnant. And that's when I really started taking it serious because I was like, something is wrong. And I ended up doing a little bit of research, trying to find people, resources, but I really did not want to openly tell people that I was dealing with infertility and loss. And so I kept it a secret. I used to say, oh, we don't want any kids right now. Or, I'm trying to focus on my career, while in the back of my mind, I'm like in panic mode. And so living with that was really like torturous. And it wasn't until I went to Fred Meyer's and I saw a friend of mine, Dominique, got to give her a shout out. She was in the store and she's like this hippy dippy Black girl with, green locks at the time on top. And she sees me and I knew she was going to school to be a doctor. And I was like, hey, Dominique, how are you doing? And she was like, good, good. And I'm, showing like I'm doing this and I graduated from here and I got married and, just trying to build, you know how we do sometimes. And she says, oh, that's great. I said, did you ever go to school to be a doctor? And she says, no, I am a forensic banker. I was like, what does that mean? And she's like, I'm checking for fraud and stuff. And then she says, I'm also a doula. And I was like, a do what? And she's like, a doula. And that was the first time I ever heard that word. And a doula is a person that supports you emotionally and physically along certain journeys with your body. There are different types of doulas. There's abortion doulas. There's death doulas. There are full spectrum doulas, postpartum, prenatal doulas, doulas that are just for foster care and adoption. If you can think it, there is probably a doula out there that's walking along someone in their journey. And she tells me this and she's like, yeah, I also help with infertility. She had me instantly at infertility. And I just start spewing everything out. And I'm like, I'm dealing with this. I need help. I'm not sure what to do. And she says, I can help you. And it was the first time that someone said, I believe you. Because I'm going to all these doctors and they're saying all these things. I'm just like, I don't know what to do. And so she went on this journey with me and helped really focus on education, connection, me reaching out and getting help and support through different wellness spaces. Darnell Barlow, for some of those that might know her, she was my infertility wellness coach and just really put me on a really good diet and teas and all kinds of stuff. And a year later, after I started this journey, I ended up having my daughter, Jalea, during COVID. She's 4 years old now. But the Shades of Motherhood is really about understanding people's stories through their body, understanding that bodily autonomy is one of the most powerful gifts we can give to people. And so this year, and we've been saying it quite a bit, but support is the new superpower. And there's this term called the strong woman complex, or some people may know it as the strong Black woman complex, where you come into rooms and you're like, I got it together. I feel good. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. And inside you are so broken. You are falling apart and you cannot confess anything to anyone because you're worried about what people may say or how you might lose your position or power, whatever it is that's holding you back from saying, I need the support. And so the Shades of Motherhood was really birthed out of that. We started a podcast called Girl Get a Doula, where we explore doulas all over the country, which is such a phenomenal experience. And we realized that Spokane needed more doulas in our community. There were 41 doulas that we did do a survey on. Half of them weren't practicing, and there were only 2 Black doulas in the whole city of Spokane, and 2 of them were getting ready to phase out because they were not making any money and it wasn't sustainable. And so Shades of Motherhood took on that challenge and said, how do we help get more doulas of color and allies in space and provide them with the right supports so that they can not only succeed, but thrive and really feel like we have a community that cares about us so that we can care about others.
My daughter is trying very hard to get pregnant and not succeeding. I'm just wondering, what is the next step?
So one of the first steps that I think I underestimated was the cleansing of your body and your environment. This was so hard. Let me tell you, one time I literally was about to have like a crying breakdown because I wanted to drink coffee. Coffee can cause miscarriages, can mess up your cycle. It can mess up all of these different biological things. So getting some type of good detox and making sure that you're looking at your environment, the soaps you wear, the deodorants you wear, if you're spraying perfume directly on your skin, getting your hair bleached, there's a lot that you give up. It is one of the hardest things because not only are you parenting before you have a child, but then when you have the child in your belly, it's a whole thing. Also, to get into some good support groups because you don't want to be in the situation where you have gone through all this trauma and then finally you get pregnant and you can't even enjoy it because you're worried about losing the baby every 5 seconds.
Right.
Or you are feeling like, oh my gosh, I didn't do enough. I'm not ready. And you have all these crazy feelings, and they're normal. But when you're dealing with infertility, there is a layer that is really hard. My husband and I, we ended up going through counseling. This is the stuff that people don't want to talk about. I'm going to talk about something that people don't want to talk about, which is sex becomes a chore. And at first you're like, yay, I'm so happy we get to do it all the time. And then it becomes like, oh my gosh, I'm ovulating. Where are you at? What, my body temperature? I got to take my temperature. Come on, hurry up. You get in this mode where it becomes almost like you need to do this at this time and you have to do it perfectly. It puts all this additional pressure. So I would tell her to detox. I would tell her to look at her environment, make sure that she's taking a lot of those toxics out of her home, making sure she's taking toxins off of her body, get into a good support group. And if she has a partner, make sure they're getting into counseling and they're making sure that communication is happening because it's really difficult when you're actually going through the process and you're pregnant and you guys are trying to figure out who are we about to be when this baby comes.
You said that you didn't tell anybody for a long time.
Yeah.
Was there shame?
Absolutely. I think there was this shame of you can't do this. When we look at the history of Black people specifically, Black women are always seen as baby factor making people, right? And so you go through the society telling you you're going to have all these babies. Then you get into your family and they're like, make sure you don't have babies out of wedlock. Make sure you do this so that we can overcome poverty and break all these cycles. And you get to a point where you overcome all of that, right? You maybe get a partner that has stability. You graduate from college, you get the house, you get the job, you're living life, having a great time. And you're like, okay, I'm ready to do this. And you can do it. It is the most crazy thing that we don't even talk about. We don't even think 1 in 7 people are going to deal with infertility. That number is supposed to triple. There are articles that were published probably about 5 years ago. And it was saying like, our generation, don't take out your uterus because you may be having your grandchildren because the infertility rate is so high and it's climbing, and it's also climbing in men. And that's something that we're not talking about as well.
And also, don't tell people who are trying to just relax.
Oh my gosh.
Don't worry about it and it'll happen. That is annoying.
It is annoying. With my first daughter, we did IUI, in vitro uterine fertilization. That is when they give you progesterone to grow your eggs, and then they take the sperm and they put it directly by the eggs. It's a step down from IVF. And we did that 4 times. Usually they only let you do it 3 times, but I told them, I was like, I do not want to do IVF. I want to try this as many times as I can. We do it the 4th time. We end up having our daughter, Jalea. But the second child I had, which his nickname is Sunny, I didn't know I was pregnant with him at all. And it wasn't that I was relaxing. I was just like, I think I was just in a different mindset. And so I didn't even know what was going on. And my body had went through this process already. So they always say if your body goes through the process the first time, it kind of knows what to do the second time. That is not always true. But he ended up coming. And gosh, I was probably 3 months pregnant when I found out I was pregnant with him.
And you weren't trying this time.
We were trying, but not trying like before. And I think the first time when you go through the process and you're struggling with infertility, I just think that we're taking everything through such the lens of medicine. We don't think about our environment. What helps you to relax, right? Like if you've got to pay bills and do a bunch of stuff and like, of course you're not going to relax, I looked at people all the time. I'm like, this person was super stressed out. This person's doing this, and this, and they all got pregnant, got babies everywhere. Why can't I have a baby like that? You start comparing and like, what's going on? But sometimes there's other things going on with your body.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's your partner. And that's hard. I've been in situations where I've talked to people where the partner's like, I'm not getting tested. And the person thinks it's them and it's not them.
Mm-hmm. I interviewed somebody for my last podcast that was trying for 6 years to get pregnant. And she was saying how she hated seeing everybody's posts about being pregnant. Did you have a reaction to other people's good news?
No. I think in the beginning, I just was, there's a reason why this is not happening.
Mm-hmm. But you said you thought it was like God punishing you.
Yes. I wasn't angry at them. I was like, what do I need to do to find repentance? As I say, repentance.
Did you really think though?
I did. I'm definitely a cause and effect person. And I'm like, you put so much good into the world. Why wouldn't good things come back? Right. But I had to break that down and just say, listen, something is missing. And I think for some people that never end up having a baby, it's nothing you do. I think the things that I'm talking about are really good for your body and with your health in general. Right. Yeah. But I also think there comes a point where we have to have the conversation about what is happening in our foods, in our air, in our environments. Even stress, we have to keep that in consideration too. That's hindering us from having a baby. I think I was mostly impacted when I saw my mom holding other babies. Mm-hmm. Because I said, this may never happen. And my mom and I have a very close relationship. And my desire was to have this young, happy, healthy grandmother that could run around with my babies and do all of these things. And I had to come to the grips that this may never happen. Mm-hmm. So I think what was harder for me was mourning the what if. And I think that is hard when you come to grips with that and you come to a place of letting go. I think it gets easier, but you get to places throughout life like a roller coaster where you're just like, it comes up like a flood,
Shades of Motherhood Network is what exactly?
It's a nonprofit that's focused on maternal health. We are like the first of its kind. We do everything from doula services, emergency funding. We put together wellness boxes, which contain fresh fruits and vegetables that were partnered with 4 Roots. We also have peer support groups. We have over 8 peer support groups that focus on mothers of color, fathers of color. Anybody can come to this stuff. Like, I'm just going to tell you this because I think there's like this misconception that you cannot come to these type of things if you are a white person. Mm-hmm. That is not true. There are some spaces that are meant for Black people, and that is what we focus on. But anyone can come to our open peer support groups. We have 2 licensed counselors that are on board with us right now, and they help provide that additional support that many people need. And then we started our youth program, which is rooted in resilience. And that is really helping with our younger kids that are growing up now. Our babies are 3 years old now, and they are starting to get to know themselves and connect. And we want to create positive childhood experiences throughout our community, through free events and things like that. So we do a lot. There is no one lane for us because everything leads to maternal health, and the solution is in our community.
Before you had issues getting pregnant, was this your dream, or did your problem become your purpose?
You know, my problem became my purpose. It became my passion. It became my why. I think sometimes we get into dark places and we don't know why we're there. And there is a beautiful quote that one of my professors at Whitworth said, and I was in a Russian literature class, and I was sitting there and I was feeling all the feelings, and I was going through so many things. And he says, treasure your memories, for they will be your greatest pearl. And I began to cry like a baby, because sometimes the darkest places take us to the brightest ones. And I am so grateful that I was able to speak my truth and bring my voice out so that others could identify with what I was experiencing. Not only was I trying to have a baby, but I'm a career woman. I'm a mother through spirit to my babies that didn't make it. What does that mean? Like, even recognizing them and bringing them into space and saying that I was a mother. I am a mother.
Absolutely.
And I have to mother a different way, you know? Each of my children have taught me something about what motherhood looks like, and understanding that mothering is not about biological birth. We all mother each other in some way. Kimberly Johnson says, when a mother has a child, it's time for a mother to be mothered. And it's a powerful quote that the Shades of Motherhood stands on, because we have to learn that mothering comes in many forms and also different stages of life. And so getting the opportunity to not only empower and uplift my voice, but to create space for others to do that, even through art. A lot of people know us for our Black maternal health exhibits of Black women sharing their stories through images and sharing what support looks like. These were powerful moments that we were able to create in Spokane, and bringing even Black Maternal Health Week, which is April 11th through the 17th, here to Spokane. This is our 4th year. And being able to do that through art and conversation and connection, it has been the magic, as I say. We are very proud to be Black. We are very proud to bring all of our ancestral roots around African American care back to space, and be loud and proud about it and be unapologetic. You know what I mean? I can still love you and love me at the same time, you know? There's like a quote that says, just because I say save the rainforest doesn't mean F all the other rainforests. We just moved into the Northtown Mall. We have a new project called the Diverse Roots, and it is a open community space that's really focused on the social determinants of health. And I can't tell you how many people come in and they're like, I only see Black people, but there's Latina people there. There are African American people there. There are Venezuelan people there, and they're not able to distinctly see the diversity in that space, right? And it's because we have been conditioned to just look at the skin tone and not go deeper,
right,
and understand, like, who are you? What does your community look like? What does your history look like? You know, but that would require us to sit down and have a conversation. And many of us just want these answers right away to be able to make a judgment, versus like, let me actually get deep.
What do you say to somebody who has a dream and doesn't know the path forward?
So when I started talking about Shades of Motherhood Network, everyone said, this is not going to work. This is Spokane.
Right.
It's not going to work. People aren't going to get it. People are too scared to embrace anything Black. And I will say this, bet on yourself. If it goes great, awesome. If it does not go the way that you thought it was going to go, you are going to have a really great story for somebody. I think one of the hardest things about dreaming is that your dream will inspire others. They will be in space with you, and then they will grow and they will be dreamers themselves. And I feel like my dreams, I tend to be a flint, meaning I spark people and inspire people. And when you dream, you sometimes get connected with people being in this journey with you. But the journey for me is understanding that as I dream, I'm going to inspire other people to do the things that they thought they couldn't do. And my job is to hold their hand and we run into this together. I always say I want to hold my sister's hands and run into the fire. And that is kind of what we've created. A lot of people that I work with, they're entrepreneurs. We contract, we figure out ways to utilize funding together and build and grow and develop. And it is a beautiful thing. Mm-hmm. And I think when you dream, sometimes you have nightmares. Sometimes you don't realize that we plan so much for the day. We did not plan for the night. We did not plan for those dark places that majority of us go, and we are sitting in, even smiling, even the happiest times of our business. We could be blowing up, got a new thing, and we're in the corner somewhere rocking and crying. And people don't understand that sometimes your dream is a beautiful nightmare.
As a business owner, the hardest thing is not enough work and too much work.
That part.
Which means no matter what.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's stressful.
Yeah.
It's hard to be a dreamer, actually.
It is, because you have to continually believe in yourself and this thing that isn't probably created yet. And you see it and no one else sees it. So everybody thinks you're crazy. Like, who's going to support that? Yeah, you applied for 20 grants, you didn't get one. Oh yeah, you did okay. You're all right. You're not the best. But what I had to realize is, like, you don't need to be the best. You need to be a great leader. Find people that have the same interests or some kind of piece in your business. Work with them and you guys build this up together. My dream before was always to be like this businesswoman that had like this amazing business and like I'm doing all these things. And prior I was traveling and doing all this stuff. And when I got pregnant with my son, that was where my dream had to revamp itself. I had to redream my dream because my son, he was born on June 24th. His birthday's coming up. He coded 4 times.
Oh, wow.
I almost died because I ended up with postpartum preeclampsia and I was refusing medication. I was refusing everything. I was not doing well. And he ended up getting surgery on his stomach 3 days into his life. He had open heart surgery. The day before his open heart surgery, he coded. There were so many things that I experienced, and I still was running a business. And my dream became at that point is I want a community that allows me to be a mother, a woman, a business owner, and most importantly, a change maker. What I needed was to find people that wanted to work in a collaborative method. Because working in isolation and being that person that we see, or we see what a business owner should look like, quote unquote, I had to reimagine that.
Yeah.
And once I reimagined what leadership looked like for me, what business looked like for me, then the dream really came alive. Because it was no longer just about the profit. It was about finding people that wanted to work together and we build something up so that when we're old and gray, we're taken care of. It is definitely a challenge trying to figure out what this looks like because it's definitely against every kind of structure that is built in patriarchy. But the dream is community. The dream is collaboration.
You had a quote about mothers.
Kimberly Johnston, this is a quote that we stand on at the Shades of Motherhood Network, which is, when a mother has a child, it's time for the mother to be mothered.
I love that so much. What does that mean to you?
It means that we're constantly evolving.
Does this have anything to do with your mother? I mean, are you mothering your mother in any way?
You know, it is so interesting that you say that. So I've always seen my mom as this strong, independent Black woman activist and just, go, 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 go. But my mom was getting older. She's getting older. And when I went through everything with my son, my mom was there every step of the way. And she had just retired from Whitworth after 28 years. Okay. So she just retired. She's all excited. I'm going to do this. And all this stuff happens with my son. So when my son was in the hospital, he had just gotten out, probably like 2 weeks, 3 weeks out, maybe a month. Maybe I can't really remember what the days were, but we got out the hospital. We've been out for a while. He comes with me to a small workshop that we're doing. My mom passes out and breaks her ankle.
Oh.
And let me tell you, I literally felt like I'm going to have to be my mom's caretaker. And she's very stubborn. So if she hears this, I want her to know. Very stubborn, would not budge on like moving in with one of us. And she lived on the second floor of an apartment. She showed me that everything that she poured into me over the years, I got to pour back into her.
Mm.
And her wisdom is vital to me as a leader, as a person, as a mother. And I think when we talk about when a mother has a child, it's time for a mother to be mothered. It's really the awakening of understanding that we are each other's mother. The shades of motherhood. When you think about a weeping willow, or you think about a tree that extends itself really wide, it is stretching all the way out. And it sometimes gives you shade. It keeps you cool. It gives you a firm place to lean up against. You can sit on top of a tree. You could climb on a tree, the ones that are strong, right? It has so many functional purposes. But sometimes trees, when you shake them, there are these little seeds that fall on the ground and they start to take root. They're regrowing all over again. And the cycle happens over and over and over. And sometimes our mothers cannot give us what they want to give us.
Mm-hmm.
So it is important for us to find community that had that mothering they can pour back into me.
Mm-hmm.
I have a family and community like a smorgasbord. I take a little bit here, 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 because we can't be everything for everybody.
Right.
And sometimes when we have these mamas that don't know what to do, don't know how to do it, they didn't love us enough, they didn't hug us enough. Sometimes they gave you all they could give you.
Right.
That's a hard thing to hear for some people, for real. It is hard to realize that your mom just didn't have it. And there was a point in time my mom didn't have it.
Yeah.
And to watch her grow up in her womanhood and be this strong woman that everybody respects. I carry her name, her legacy. It is one of the most beautiful and powerful things because when they hear my name, sometimes they think it's her and they're all excited. And I'm like, nope, it's the junior. It's the little one. But mothering never stops.
I was upset with my mother for most of my life. She passed away when I was 18 and she wasn't the mother I needed. And then I was in my mid 30s with 2 daughters, single parent. My mother was the single parent of 6 kids and only 9 years difference between the oldest and the youngest. And I was struggling so hard with 2. And the more I parented, the more I forgave.
Yep.
I just finally understood that she was a woman who happened to be a mom. Yeah, it took me a lifetime, well, half a lifetime to understand that we're all just women doing the best we can. That brought tears to my eyes so much about the tree and the community. And I love nurturing women. It's beautiful.
It is. And it's so powerful.
Mm-hmm.
I was raised around a lot of just badass women, and they were all single moms, and they all had left their husbands, and they all were starting revolutions. And here in Spokane, it was all these beautiful Black and brown and allies. And let me tell you, they came in and they showed us what we needed to do to survive. My mom, there was times where we didn't have any food. And my mom would go in the kitchen, make chicken and dumplings. If you have never had chicken and dumplings, it's so good. But she makes them in a certain way. She's from Dallas, Texas, and they're so delicious. And she would make this chicken and dumpling. She would make a pot of that and she would take it over to somebody's house. And I'd be like, Mom, we don't got any food. And she'd be like, you know what? Sister so-and-so needs this, okay? When we go in there, I'm going to go in the room with her and talk to her, and you go play with her kids. And I'd be like, okay. And I would just hear my mom in the room with other women, and they would be screaming and crying. And she would just holding them and would be like, it's going to be okay. We're going to get through this. And that experience helped me understand that we are each other's superheroes. Mm-hmm. We are each other's mother. There's something so beautiful about being nurtured by someone unapologetically and being able to see that it's coming from a genuine place and understanding that sometimes we don't show up in the best space all the time. Sometimes we experience each other in healed and unhealed spaces. And it's hard to mother a rebellious child, right? But if you have a ton of different people, even if it's just one person that can break through and give you a little bit of love and give you a little bit of peace, that is going to matter to that child.
What I was thinking you were saying was what I missed from my mother is what I got from being a mother. And so that's one of the things I thought what your quote meant, but I really love what it means, that it's about community. And it doesn't necessarily about your relationship with your mother or your daughters. I've interviewed a lot of people who don't have any relationship with their living mothers, which just breaks my heart, but also not my path and don't know if it's better or worse. It just makes me so sad.
I think some women, they see me and my mother and they're just like, they've come to me and like, Stephanie, I'm so jealous. But that was a lot of fighting. Mm-hmm. That was a lot of arguing. There was a lot of disappointment. There was a lot of letdown. And what I love about our journey as mother-daughter is that canceling each other out was never an option. Mm-hmm. Now, for some people, they might need to create some distance for their mom because of sexual abuse, physical abuse. There might be something there. I don't know. But what I can say is that my mom was a teen parent, 15 years old.
Yeah.
And my dad was a teen parent and came from a really abusive home and then went in the military and then had a bunch of kids and.
Right.
And when I started to humanize my parents, then I began the true connection with them. I was not attached to the unhealed parent. I was searching for the parent they wanted to be. My dad, he always cries when he sees pictures and he just says, I wish I could have been a better parent. He's an excellent grandfather, crazy about his grandchild and his grandchildren. Like he does not play about his grandkids. But what I realized is that when I got to know his story more and he opened up, I'm like, how could I had a parent that was whole from this person's story? Because a lot of our parents, they don't talk about their past, especially the older generation. That is like taboo. And so I am his liberation. I am my mother's liberation. I am their freedom. I am a result of what they created. And so anytime that I get to talk about parents and talk about mothering and this idea of what a father looks like, it's sometimes really hard for people to hear it because they're like, how do I even find this when I didn't have it? And I don't think it's finding it in those people. It's finding it in your community. It's finding it in even just sometimes literature. I hate to say it like that, but sometimes you connect with a person's words so much that it heals your soul.
Yeah.
Mothering is a verb to me. And when you think about a person mothering, anybody can do that. You just have to be willing to accept it. sometimes we've got so much hurt and we've got so many walls up, no one could even penetrate love or even break that wall.
Right.
So it's getting to the point where you have to nurture yourself in order to receive nurturing from someone else. I love being able to call my mom. I call my mom about really weird and awkward things. Like, it doesn't make sense. Mom, I left the meat out for 2 minutes. Can I eat it? Like, what? I love being able to hear her insight because I know one day she's not going to be here.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm the baby in the family, so I have a lot of trauma around separation, always. I'm the baby of 4. There's 5 total, but 4 living. And my brother and I are 9 years apart. And so...
Oh, that's me and my brother.
Yeah. And so I'm super close to my brother, obsessed with him. And my sisters were all really close. We all talk every morning. It's just like we're always bothering each other. What's going on? But, you know, when we can't get a hold of our mom, we're like, somebody call mom, FaceTime mom. Where's she at? Check her location. It's just like, y'all, I'm at the doctor. Leave me alone. Never. And we are never going to leave you alone. But, you know, there was a point in time where all of us were just really angry with my mom. She needed to make some decisions about my dad and she needed to leave him, you know? And I'm like, Mom, how can you be so crazy? Blah, 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 blah. And, you know, I realized like she loved this man. This is the only person that she ever knew. And her parents are passed on and all this stuff. But, you know, she was like, Stephanie, it took me a while to become strong.
Mm-hmm.
I was a strong mother. I knew how to cook, clean, do all the things, make a house a home. But to stand on my feet as a woman, like that is the part that I am enjoying the most, is watching the stages of my mother become a woman.
How old is your mom?
She is 72. And I look at her and I see the gray hairs and I see the skin changing and I see all the different things that are changing. And how beautiful is it to see somebody become who they've always wanted to become?
Mm-hmm.
You know, a lot of things kept her back. She had to get her GED and had all these different pieces and trials. And to see her where she is now, I am so proud of her. And that is what I want for my daughter. Like, I want, like, yes, all of the shades of motherhood, all that, but I want her to look at it and say, my mom was truly who she was. What you saw is what you got. And she is a phenomenal woman, and I want to be just like her. I want her to know that I love her. I want to know I embrace her, but I want her to know that your mother will have her own healing journey to do along the way, because children will bring up some stuff in your life. That is where the true growth of motherhood comes in. When you have these moments and you realize like, oh, I'm not healed in that spot, or I didn't make the best decision in that spot, or I said something that really hurt that person, and being able to reflect and say, how do I become a better woman today than yesterday? It's difficult, but it's also worth it. It's also worth it. Healing first. Don't be afraid to heal. Sometimes you are getting all of these messages and all this information about healing, and it just sits there, right? And then one day, it's that moment in time, something opens up and everything soaks in and you're ready for it. Sometimes the healing doesn't come right away. Sometimes it's got to sit and be still with you. And when you finally get that opening and it floods in your soul, you find peace, you find joy, you find the new version of yourself, and you will still be present with your old self as well. And you learn how to live with both of them.
I remember as a younger woman thinking, I need to change, but everybody knows me, so I can't just become something else. But when you honestly change, you just evolve into that other person, and you don't have to convince anybody that you're different. You just are different.
That's it. That's 100% it.
Well, oh my gosh, this was such a beautiful conversation.
Thank you for having me. I am so excited to be a part of this. And this conversation has just helped me to dream bigger, be brave, and most importantly, keep the healing going.
Mm-hmm. Thanks for listening. New episodes drop every Thursday.